Welcome to Bomber Bespoke. Today I want to talk about two core skills that are relevant for bootmaking: crimping and springing. Unfortunately for many shoemakers, those two skills are like monsters.
You cannot pass! You shall not pass!
So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to do both of those things and the processes will stop following you around like your village people and gatekeeping your progress in this wonderful art of bootmaking. So let's start with springing. That's the tip of the vamp, the tip of the last represented as you can see on the last there. This is the instep of the last, the vamp point, the ball. That's the middle line of the vamp line. Now along the shaft of the boot, you have seen that I have drawn several points along the shaft of the boot, and I have marked like right angles to meet the curve of the elastic if it's a Chelsea boot, or the elbow of the throat of the boot, 90 degrees angle to meet that curve at different points. I'm going to use those as references to spring this vamp. So I draw in all of that curve until that point there. Using that point as pivot, I'll pivot to the next point. Then I'll mark in the line that gets to that point. Using there as pivot, I'll pivot to the very next point. I'll continue doing this until I get to the elbow of that elastic curve. Right? So I'll pivot until that line there intersects with the center line. And then I'll draw in, marking until I get to the elbow of that curve. From the elbow, I'll pivot not to any other point but to the tip of the last right now, and then marking all the rest of the curve and about 1 cm into the feather edge, about 1 cm into the feather edge. Right? Good. Now you notice something that happens around the center line. There is a void there that will distort the dimensions of our pattern, this void. So we need to clean out that void so that the dimensions of our pattern will remain consistent, and we do that by springing using the tip as pivot and bringing everything up to the center line. Then we'll draw the feather edge up to the ball of the vamp. Then using that ball as pivot, we'll pivot down to the angle that we made earlier when we connected that part to 1 cm beneath the feather line, and draw in the rest of the curve of the feather line like so. Then we'll place the edge of that angle to the new angle that has been made, and then the ball on the feather edge, and use that ball as pivot and pivot again to the center line. Now with this, the entire thing has been flattened to a two-dimensional surface that you can basically cut out on leather. Now I learned this method from another YouTuber known as Wilson Meneses Ramirez. He's on YouTube here. Do check him out. I think the method elongates the vamp by about 1 cm, but I really don't mind. It works for me, and that should be it. So check out Wilson and check out the wonderful work that he does on his channel. He speaks Spanish, I think. He's from Colombia, I guess. So please go to his channel and tell him that you came from here. He's a wonderful guy. Now that we have sprung our vamp, it is time for the second part of this video, this class, which is on crimping.
You ain't no outlaw, and we don't drink with tin horns.
Sir, it seems that you are no better a judge of human beings than you are a specimen of one. Just on a brief inventory, I'd say that you could use yourself a shave and a brighter disposition.
Your shooting iron work.
Appears to do, yes.
Learning how to crimp will make you a sharpshooter. So let's do it. So this is the same pattern that we had. I've only added some allowances, lasting allowance, and then allowances at the side where I can pull on the leather when I'm crimping it. So let me mark out the pattern on leather. Now you see that I'm using an ink pen to mark it out. I'm not suggesting it to you. I just needed something that will be permanent on the leather, and you can see that I'm only using it for the edges, and the places that would actually show on the work I'm using ink that can be erasable ink. See how I cut the pattern? So I left those spaces by the side there, and I'll basically just cut a line up until I get to the elbow of that curve. So I have the center line. The next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to indicate the instep on that center line. So there is the instep. I would also use my erasable ink and mark that in, because that is actually very important. It is here that many people actually start having problems. When you don't place your instep properly, you probably have some problems with crimping. Now see the leather that I'm using. You can see that it is not stretchy leather like this one. You know, I'm using this one as reference. This is actually very stretchy leather, and it's flimsy. It's probably something that I'll use as lining. But this is tough, almost like lizard skin, right? It's tough, and it is not so this is another one that I have crimped. But I was saying that that leather is not flimsy leather. Now for crimping boards, I would suggest that you put a bevel on your crimping boards like this. It will help you outline the center line easier. For me, I have boards that are beveled and those that are not beveled. Even this one, which is not very beveled, you can see that I'm already trying to bevel it by using a knife to, you know, just scrape and shave at the sides to achieve that bevel. The important thing about your crimping boards is that they should angle out slightly, about 60 or 70 degrees outwards, and have their elbows properly marked. So let's go ahead and do this. You can see that this leather, I haven't even wet it yet, so I'm going to crimp this leather dry. I don't recommend it to you, but I'm only doing it like this to show you that applying this process, your life can actually be very easy. If it can be done when it is dry, imagine how easy it will be when it is wet. So placing the instep at the elbow of the crimping board, I'll, you know, just centralize the entire thing, trying as much as you can. Your main concern should be at that elbow. Remove as much wrinkle as you can from that elbow with your hands. You see? Then once you have done that, the next critical point is to pull downward at this angle here. This will break up and make your life easier at the end. Then removing as much wrinkles again as you can, you pull that. Once you have it in this position, you will find that everything else you need to do will just be fine-tuning, removing tacks and pulling at the sides like so, until you have properly gotten everything to lie flat and flush on the crimping board. So in fact, because I actually needed to use and make the shoe as quickly as I can, that's the reason why I didn't wet it. But at this point, it is permissible to put some water around that elbow there, just around that elbow, and then pull at things. You see that my pattern remained consistent while I was crimping. And as a final outcome, which took me only about 5 minutes to finish, so I just added some water around that elbow, and I greatly reduced my drying time for this pattern. If you add water here, it also helps it that by the time it is dry, just that elbow there shrinks very tightly and your crimping will stay consistent. So I hope that the things you gathered from these two videos will help you. Until I see you on the next video, God bless you. Peace.